Hello, fifth graders. Thank you for taking time to come out and watch this video today on lesson 6. Now, this says colonial trade. That's a mistake. It should say colonial economies, but it doesn't really matter. So we'll start talking about the notes a little bit here. So England was really looking for ways to make money. And they thought, one way we can do that is to go after the colonies, try to get money that way. In England, they are run by a group called Parliament, and it's the job of Parliament to make laws for that country. So England at first started that by saying the colonists had to buy their manufactured goods. They figured, okay, if they only can buy manufactured goods from us, that's one way England could make money. So they said it was illegal for the colonies to make things that were being made in England, like hats, nails, horseshoes, those type of things. They said if we make them here in England, you can't make them, because if you can't make them, you have to buy them from us. So that's one way they made money. The next thing they did was English Parliament passed the Navigation Act. As we mentioned before, the word act means law. And this law passed by Parliament limited what and who the colonies could trade with. So they said the 13 colonies could only trade or sell things like sugar, tobacco, lumber, cotton, wool, and indigo to England and or other colonies around the world. They were not allowed to trade with any other countries, which something that's going to be angering the colonists because it's going to cost them money. So that's all England is trying to do here, is make as much money as they can for their colony. So in 1863, the British Parliament, there I changed it to British. Eventually, England would become part of Great Britain. Great Britain consists of 4 countries: England, Wales, Northern Ireland, and Scotland. Together they form Great Britain. So when I say English Parliament, British Parliament, basically the same thing. So in 1663, they passed a law that said everything going to the colonies had to be shipped to England and first and pay a tax. This tax was called a duty. Um, this made money for England, but of course, it's costing the colonists more. So the people that are buying it, they're going to end up having to pay more because they're paying a higher tax. So they're not going to like that either. So far, England is really starting to make their colonists upset, limiting what the colonies can make, limiting who they could trade with, and then now charging this tax called the duty. So in this last paragraph here, it says these laws angered the colonists a lot, and some began to smuggle or secretly import goods, which was illegal. They didn't want to send these goods to England first and pay that tax. They said, we're just going to forget about that, and we'll just bring them here anyways and not go pay that tax. They also traded in foreign ports. Foreign ports means other countries. And they also allowed ships from other country into their ports. So both of those were illegal. So trading with other countries and smuggling goods in, both illegal. But England was about 3,000 miles away. So the colonists like, we don't care. They really can't enforce those rules. So they just ignored them, even though England tried to find ways to make money. A lot of the routes during this time period, these trading routes form triangles. So you can see here, this red one, goods could go from South America to Africa to the colonies and then back to South America, forming triangles. So these are all these different routes. And if you read in the textbook, a couple pages talked about the triangular trade. That's why they call it triangular trade. The routes form triangles. The triangular trade made many colonial merchants rich. Merchants are people that are buying and selling these goods, and especially in the New England colonies. So Massachusetts Bay, Connecticut, New Hampshire, they're making a lot of money because they have a lot of shipping industries up there. And they benefited from all this stuff that was being raised in the South because the Southern colonies would buy their ships and in the North. So the triangular trade made a lot of people rich and valuable during this time period. But where you lived determined how you would make money, or would determine how an area made money. So this here, regional economies, we talk about the 3 different groups of colonies. We have New England colonies, middle colonies, southern colonies, and how people in there made money. This is kind of a review of some of the things we've already talked about, but it adds some new information. So the New England colonies' economy depended on the lumber and shipping industries. In New England colonies, they had a lot of forests, and a lot of that wood could be turned into ships. So they worked together. And the word I want you to know out of this is an industry. An industry is all the businesses that make one kind of product or provide one kind of service. So you have the lumber industry, focusing on producing lumber. You have the fishing industry. They focus on fishing. The tobacco industry, especially in the southern colonies, focusing on tobacco. So it's all kinds of different examples of industries. And after time, Boston's shipbuilding industry competed very strongly with England, and fishing became very important for Englanders, especially cod. Cod became a cash crop. Yeah, I know cod is a type of fish. Fish aren't crops, but it's an example of a cash crop for the New England area. So cod became a big one. And as we talked before, the middle colonies depended a lot on farming, such as wheat and dairy. Farming was huge. That's why we called them the breadbasket colonies. And a lot of those goods were sent to other countries, even though illegal according to British law. Um, and they didn't care. They needed to make money, and that was their way of making money. And other people did jobs by being printers. So we talked about operating a printing press, one of the videos I showed you before. Shoemakers, cabinet makers, and other types of things like that that people would become apprentices for. But farming was very important in the middle colonies. And in the South, just things we've already talked about. They had those large plantations. And on those large plantations, we had cash crops such as indigo, tobacco, rice, cotton. So that's how the South grew their economies. And that was a lot of their jobs were centered around those large plantations. And it's here first, the southern colonies only traded with England, but expanded that to other colonies or other countries, which brought great wealth to the southern colonies. So because of all the cash crops they had there, soon the South, out of all three groups, became the wealthiest. And the biggest reason they became the wealthiest is because they didn't pay a lot of workers. Because on those southern farms, they had slaves. And if you're not paying your slaves, you're making more money that way. You have free labor, unfortunately, in our country. That's what happened then. So that's about all it is for those notes. If you don't understand anything, let me know or go back and watch this video again. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Take care. Bye.